Billionaire dreams. I know niggas who played ball and gave it up for lean.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams, but my account in overdraft, I'm about to scream.
Rich man greed,
A poor man prayers,
every man bleeds.
but look how God made us.
Too many losses, it's only right that we win. Yeah, I made a promise I'm never gonna lose again.
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy SL550, and this is the N.G.L.A podcast. First off, I want y'all to like, share, subscribe to the channel. You already know, the more subscribes, the more love is shown, the more my channel grows, and I really, truly appreciate it. Real quick, before we start, I want to make sure that my mic is working fine. Okay. Everything sounds good, but let me make sure real quick. Let me see. For some reason, it's only, seems like it's only coming out of one side. Yo, there we go. All right, now we lit. Like I said, man, I know y'all probably heard me, but this is your boy SL550, and this is the N.G.L.A podcast. Make sure y'all like, share, subscribe to the channel. If y'all not already subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. Hit the notification button also to get notified every time your boy drop a video. So today, man, we're gonna get into a few things. Real quick, let me turn my phone on silent. Get no more interruptions. All right. So today we're going to talk about. So So Karoline Leavitt had a press briefing today. There was a big flood over in Texas, catastrophic. I think 90 plus people got killed. She'll go over that and a few other things. So I want to get straight into it, man, because I'm a little pressed for time today. So let's get straight into this.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all had a great weekend. I want to start by addressing the devastation from the tragic flash floods in Texas. Moments ago, the Department of Homeland Security provided an update that 91 innocent souls have now perished. Everyone here at the White House, including the President of the United States, is praying for the victims' families and friends during this unimaginable time. President Trump swiftly signed a major disaster declaration for Kerr County, Texas, to ensure our heroic first responders have every resource they need in the relief and recovery efforts. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem traveled to Texas over the weekend, and the entire Trump administration is working hand in glove with state and local officials to provide every assistance available. The situation on the ground remains dangerous, and there could be additional public safety threats with potential incoming heavy rain. So we encourage everyone in the area to remain vigilant, listen to all warnings, and respond accordingly. Unfortunately, in the wake of this once-in-a-generation natural disaster, we have seen many falsehoods pushed by Democrats such as Senator Chuck Schumer and some members of the media. Blaming President Trump for these floods is a depraved lie, and it serves no purpose during this time of national mourning. Here are the facts. In the lead up to this tragic natural disaster, the National Weather Service did its job. Despite unprecedented rainfall, the National Weather Service executed timely and precise forecasts and warnings. On July 3rd, the National Weather Service office in Austin, San Antonio, Texas, conducted forecast briefings for emergency management in the morning and issued a flood watch in the early afternoon. Flash flood warnings were also issued on the night of July 3rd and in the early morning of July 4th, giving preliminary lead times of more than 3 hours before flash flooding conditions occurred. And the National Weather Service office in New Braunfels, which delivers forecasts for Austin, San Antonio, and the surrounding areas, had extra staff on duty during the storms, despite claims of the contrary. So to any person who has deliberately lied about these facts surrounding this catastrophic event, you should be deeply ashamed. At this time, the administration's focus will be giving the victims and their communities the support they deserve during these recovery efforts in this tragic time. May God bless the great people of Texas, especially the parents who have lost their children. President Trump loves you. We are praying for you, and he will be traveling to see you later this week. Moving along to some further scheduling announcements. Tonight, President Trump will host the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, for dinner, where they will discuss the positive developments taking place in the Middle East region. Tomorrow, the president will host his 6th cabinet meeting of his 2nd term. Many of you will be invited to cover that. And on Wednesday, the president will host leaders from 5 African nations for lunch in the state dining room. In other news, after the historic signing on the South Lawn of the White House on the 4th of July, President Trump's One Big Beautiful Bill is now the law of the land. Republicans in Congress met the once-in-a-generation moment and codified the Make America Great Again agenda into law. After this monumental achievement, no other president in modern history has worked harder and faster to fulfill their campaign promises than Donald Trump. The One Big Beautiful Bill will get the United States of America firing again on all cylinders. It's safe to say that over the past few weeks, the president has delivered on many, many wins. For the 4th month in a row, jobs numbers beat market expectations with nearly 150,000 good jobs created in the month of June. The American
I want y'all to comment when y'all hear a lie. You feel me? I want y'all to comment when y'all hear a lie, when y'all hear something that she's saying that just is not true.
economy has now added nearly 700,000 jobs since January 2025, with American-born workers accounting for all job gains. President Trump drove illegal border crossings to another historic low in the month of June, and Border Patrol once again released 0 illegal aliens into our country. The Supreme Court stopped activist judges from imposing nationwide injunctions and cleared the way for President Trump to carry out his popular and common sense agenda. The University of Pennsylvania agreed to all of the Trump administration's demands and will now keep men out of women's sports. President Trump secured a trade deal with Vietnam, giving the United States total access to their markets. Because of President Trump's unleashing American energy dominance, gas prices are at 4-year lows. And when adjusted for inflation, gas prices are near the lowest levels we've seen in the last 20 years. NATO members agreed to raise defense spending to 5% of GDP, a foreign policy feat long thought impossible until President Trump made it happen. The Operation Midnight Hammer obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities, taking out this imminent national security threat not just to the United States, but to the entire world. The president secured a ceasefire between Israel and Iran, ending the 12-day war. The president brokered a historic peace agreement between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Pakistan nominated President Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of his decisive diplomatic intervention to prevent a nuclear war between India and Pakistan. Blue-collar wage growth has seen its largest increase in nearly 60 years, and President Trump has defeated Joe Biden's inflation crisis with core inflation at the lowest level since March of 2021. And just about all of that has happened in the last 3 weeks, and I know you all know it because you've been very busy here covering it along with us. So with that, I will take your questions today as we kick off another very busy week here at the White House.
Yo, first of all, before she go into these questions, and I might not to get to every single question that they ask her, but we're gonna try to get through most of them. But I just want to say, first off, man, rest in peace to them people that went through that tragic situation over there in Texas, man. And it's so crazy, right? Because you don't want to believe, right? Like, my thing is this, right? We live in America, and there's been so many things going on these past 10 years. And before that, right? Situations like COVID, you know, and then you have information that came out saying that that the United States was funding the experiments that was going on in the Wuhan lab, right? And then I want to see some real quick. Here we go. So All right, so look, I want to pull something up real quick, and we're gonna go right back to this Karoline Leavitt thing, right? Because I want to show people the reason why a lot of people um do not have faith in our our government, and I want to pull something. I want to pull this up real quick. It's a sidebar situation, but I want to show you how crazy this stuff is, right? So I'm pulling up this. I just wanted to pull this video, this little clip up really quick.
This equation.
I wanted to pull this clip up real quick. If I'm right, this is the one, right? And today, I went to the hospital. My son had a fever, and he was talking about vaccinations, and I told her that I didn't get my son vaccinated. I'm not a vax denier or none of that stuff. It's just that I don't have full faith in our healthcare system, in our government, and in our food, a lot of things that's going on out here. And this is one of the reasons why right here. And I want to show this. I believe this
Has
is the
four
video right
factors, a little bit of multiplication. So you've got a thing on the left, CO2, that you want to get to zero. And that's going to be based on the number of people, the services each person's using on average, the energy on average for each service, and the CO2 being put out.
Hold on. Where is that video, man? That's not the one, bro. I wouldn't be surprised if they took it down.
The disaster we worried about most was a nuclear war. Per unit of energy. So let's look at each one of these and see how we can get a per unit. Probably one of these numbers is going to have to get pretty near to zero. Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
I want to run this back for you. This is crazy, people. I know
Billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion.
Look, some of you probably maybe have seen this, right? And I'm playing this on the big screen because I want you to see how crazy this shit is. Right? Pay attention to what he says.
We've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Woo! Oh my goodness. Bruh. He said if we do good with vaccines, with reproductive, right, health, which is what? Abortion. With abortion and with vaccine, we can lower that number to 10 to 15%. Why would you want to lower the population? And then he used, listen, it's not a slip up, bro. Bill Gates said that, meant that, and he literally let people know on TED Talk, which is a big thing that a lot of people do, who be doing like motivational speeches and things like that. Bro, he literally said with vaccines, we can lower that number 10 to 15%, bro. So I say all that to say this, man. When we talking about Texas, we talking about once especially in my lifetime, something like this has never happened, right? And we know that they can play with the weather and do certain things. So just think about it. In this last couple years, bro, you had the big thing that happened in North Carolina. You had the California wildfires that was out of control, right? Now, we know wildfires are not something that is super, crazy in California, but come on, at this point, we're talking about decades and decades of these type of things happening in that part of the nation because of the weather and things like that. So with the technology that we have today and the different things that we have, the capabilities that we had, why are these things still happening? And then all of a sudden, you're just having these floods in places that just never happens. I'm not saying that it couldn't. I'm just saying, like, whoa, that's like New Jersey starting to get tornadoes and twisters and all types of stuff going on out here. It's just not normal. So you got to ask yourself, is this organic or is this something that is, being played on us? You know what I mean? I said this before, man. If you think that, these people won't sacrifice a few lives for the sake of their agenda, you're bugging. And I'm not saying that that's the case in this, and I hope it isn't, man. It's really sad when you can't go into your hospital and trust the doctors and trust the medicine that they're giving your children, that they're giving the people, when you can't go in your grocery store and depend on the food that you're feeding your kids and feeding your family is going to be nutritional and it's going to have things in it that are actually beneficial to the body. It's sad, bro, that we live in a country like this. It's sad, man. And like I said, man, rest in peace to all them people, that this situation happened to, man. But it's so crazy to even think that in my brain, it actually crossed my mind that this flood that happened was not organic. Like, that's crazy. Let's get back to this.
We'll lead with our new media seat, Brian Glenn, who is, of course, very...
And the Bill Gates video, just to make you understand, I played that to show you that these billionaires, some of them, not all of them, have agendas, bro. And they're part of organizations that have agendas. And it's get wicked, man. It get wicked. Unfortunately, we live in a world with free will, and people, God gave us free will, and some people use it for good and some people use it for bad. And that didn't sound good to me, It didn't sound good to me. And that one video made me cautious of giving my children vaccines. You know what I mean? And I believe that some of the vaccines are good for you. I had chickenpox when I was little. I can't tell you the last person I know. None of my nephews, nobody that I know, none of my boys that have children have had chickenpox. So I'm pretty sure there was a vaccine or something that helped cure chickenpox, right? So I know that there's good medicine. When I get an infection, I want to go get some amoxicillin because it works. When I get an infection in my tooth or something, because I know it works. When I get a headache, I'd rather take Motrin and Tylenol because it works for me. So I'm not saying that medicine isn't a real thing and that there ain't things that help people. I'm just saying that there's also a lot of things that cause destruction.
Present in this briefing room. He's put in a lot of hours covering this president, so we're glad you finally have a seat today. Brian, go ahead.
It feels great to sit down. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I want to go back to the hurricane. You said that President Trump is scheduled to go to Texas later this week. Can you speculate on what day and what he has plans?
Sure. The White House is currently arranging those travel plans. We hope that it will be later this week, likely on Friday, but of course we want to do it at the most appropriate time on the ground for state and local officials. We don't want to interrupt the recovery efforts, but we're planning tentatively for a Friday trip, and when that becomes final, we'll let all of you know, as we always do.
And you gave a little bit of reaction earlier, but the National Weather Service, the union, actually publicly stated they had an adequate staff on hand to forecast and predict the storm. You shared your thoughts earlier on how the way the left has really weaponized this to blame the deaths in Texas on Trump. Want to comment on that again?
Yeah, I just do think those comments are depraved and despicable, especially when so many Americans are mourning the loss of their children. The National Weather Service, as I said, did its job. Many experts, many meteorologists have said that. Many of you in the media, in all fairness, have said that as well. Unfortunately, not all. And many Democrat elected officials are trying to turn this into a political game, and it is not. This is a national tragedy, and the administration is treating it as such. We know the National Weather Service provided early and consistent warnings. They gave out timely flash flood alerts. There were record-breaking lead times in the lead up to this catastrophe. There is ongoing flood monitoring, and these offices were well staffed. In fact, one of the offices was actually overstaffed. They had more people than they need. So any claim to the contrary is completely false, and it's just sad that people.
It is, and it's honestly, bro, it's predictable. This is what they do. Every situation. This is why I truly don't believe. Now, mind you, this is just my opinion. This is not fact. This is why I believe that some people, not all, but some people on the left had something to do with COVID. Because if COVID was funded by the government, right, which means they had something to do with it being formulated, right? And all of a sudden we have this pandemic that is just chaos, and then it comes out that the numbers really weren't the numbers, that people died, and that getting the booster shot didn't really benefit people, and all of these things that came out. You know what I mean? Like, it's scary, man. It's super scary, and this is what they do. They're going to use it to, and mind you, I feel like COVID, I feel like COVID was done, right? Because at the time, Donald Trump's economy was doing pretty good, and mostly when presidents do pretty good, they get reelected for that second term, and people did, unfortunately did not want Donald Trump to get reelected. You know what I mean? Because the whole goal is to make Donald Trump look bad. So if he's doing everything to make himself look good, we have to do something. So let's start a pandemic. And, when people die and everything on your watch, it doesn't make you look good. So unfortunately, Donald Trump did what he could do, and, with creating a vaccine, starting a vaccine and all of them different things. But unfortunately, it was between that and them cheating, it was enough to get him out at the time. And that's what they wanted. And every chance they get, bro, every chance that these people get, they're going to do whatever it takes to make Donald Trump look bad, any way, shape, or form. It flooding in Texas, out of all places, what does that even have to do with Donald Trump, right? Let's just say, now, obviously, with the technology and things like that, you would say, all right, well, you would get the warnings and this and that and the third. But it's people's job to make sure that people get accurate information, on what's going on as far as these big hurricanes and things like that. There's people put in place for that. But anything that happens that's bad, things like this, they're going to say, oh, that's because of Donald Trump. It's crazy. But yeah, all them plane crashes that happened in the beginning of the year, it wasn't because of DEI. It was just because it just happened, just miraculously. Just every week, a plane was just crashing. That was crazy.
People are pushing these lies.
Can I just get one more?
Sure.
Kind of a little bit of breaking news. The Department of Homeland Security is moving to end the TPS status on Honduran and Nicaraguan migrants.
Yes.
Any plans to adding additional countries that you could be targeting? Just a reaction.
Sure. Well, I won't get ahead of the Department of Homeland Security on additional countries, but as you pointed out, they did end temporary protective status for Nicaraguans and Hondurans in this country because TPS, temporary protective status, is temporary by definition. It is not meant to be a permanent path to residency or citizenship here in the United States of America. It was originally granted to Nicaraguans following a natural disaster in 1999. That doesn't sound very temporary to me. And as well as Hondurans in 1999 after the impact of Hurricane Mitch in 1998. And so this administration is doing what it promised to do. And if individuals from these countries want to come here, they have a legal pathway to do it, but temporary protective status was never meant to be permanent. The previous administration abused this status and this parole program, essentially treating it as such, and we're not going to tolerate that any further. Thank you, Brian. Megan.
Secretary Bessent said yesterday that countries will boomerang back to the April 2nd tariff level starting August 1st. Why did the president decide to have those tariffs not take effect Wednesday as originally scheduled? And then I was also wondering if you could share, obviously we saw the letters the president sent out on Japan and South Korea, but if any other major U.S. trading partners are getting letters today.
Sure, yes, I can confirm. In fact, I have those letters. If you could get me the folder with the letters in them, Liz, they're right in the previous office. I have the signed letters that went out to both South Korea and Japan today. And there will be approximately 12 other countries that will receive notifications and letters directly from the President of the United States. And weeks ago, I stood at this podium and I told all of you that the President was going to create tailor-made trade plans for each and every country on this planet. And that's what this administration continues to be focused on. The President will also sign an executive order today delaying the July 9th deadline to August 1st. So the reciprocal tariff rate or these new rates that will be provided in this correspondence to these foreign leaders will be going out the door within the next month, or deals will be made. And those countries continue to negotiate with the United States. We've seen a lot of positive developments in the right direction, but the administration, the president, and his trade team want to cut the best deals for the American people and the American worker. That's what they're focused on. And in the effort of transparency, these letters will continue to be posted to Truth Social, so you can enjoy them yourself. Go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. Just about the visit of Prime Minister Netanyahu today, I was just wondering why that is not open to the press. Previous visits by him, we've had Oval Office press conferences. Does that reflect somehow the kind of sensitivity of this particular visit?
No, they're having a private dinner. There's many important matters that are obviously ongoing in the region, as you know. The utmost priority for the president right now in the Middle East is to end the war in Gaza and to return all of the hostages. Also, as you know, there was a ceasefire proposal that Israel supports that was sent to Hamas, and we hope that they will agree to this proposal. We want to see all of the hostages released. That's on the top of the president's mind, so that will be discussed, as well as the many other positive developments we've seen in the Middle East. I want to go back to the trade deals. As you see, we have these beautiful letters that the president has signed. This one is to the President of the Republic of Korea, original signature on that, and these will be mailed. And then here we also have another letter to the Prime Minister of Japan as well. Both countries will be receiving a 25% tariff rate effective on August 1st. Go ahead.
Thank you so much. You said it, and the President said it many times, you want to see an end to the war in Gaza. Will he give guarantees during this 60-day period of ceasefire that actually the war will end? Because this is a sticking point with Prime Minister Netanyahu, and I'm wondering if they see eye to eye on this point. And how do you see the next day? What the next day in Gaza will look like?
Look, right now the president is focused on today and to get the Hamas to agree to this ceasefire. I don't want to comment on the details of the arrangement out of respect for these negotiations, but
My whole thing is, why can't they just respect the fact that Trump is even trying to, make peace in these regions, bro? Like, instead they want to try to frame these questions to make it look like Trump isn't doing what he has to do as a president. He can't control, unfortunately, he can't control other countries from, causing war, and that's the unfortunate part. If he could, he would just do it. But at the end of the day, a lot of these countries have long-term beef, and Trump is just trying to be the middleman. Like, look, let's have a ceasefire. Let's get this over. All these people just dying isn't helping. But I don't know. It's crazy. It has been too long, bro, to be honest, with that whole, Gaza, Hamas situation. It's been too long, and it should have been deaded. But, we don't be knowing the full details in these situations. And unfortunately, though, some of these things is deeper than just, it's just deeper than what people think, man. These beasts be long from way back. It's crazy. It's like generational.
A agreeable and appropriate ceasefire proposal has been sent to Hamas, and I can also tell you Special Envoy Witkoff intends to travel to Doha later this week, where he will continue to engage in these discussions. And the Qataris and the Egyptians have been incredibly helpful partners in mediating these negotiations and discussions to bring peace to this region and end this conflict once and for all.
Kristen. 2 questions. Thank you, Caroline.
Sure.
The first question is President Trump reconsidering his plan to phase out FEMA, given what officials have said is their critical role on the ground now in Texas?
Look, the president wants to ensure American citizens always have what they need during times of need. Whether that assistance comes from states or the federal government, that's a policy discussion that will continue. And the president has always said he wants states to do as much as they can, if not more. And in the case of Texas, the state and local officials are doing a tremendous job. And I know the president, Secretary Noem, and the federal government are very proud to be working with them. And the president has promised to give Texas the assistance that they need during this tragic time.
Just one follow-up on cuts overall. Over the weekend, President Trump said that Elon Musk was a train wreck. Are there, given this current viewpoint, are there concerns within the White House or from the president himself over the cuts that happened under Musk while he was advising DOGE, including the National Weather Service?
I think I've already addressed that, Kristen, and what I can tell you is that these offices were fully staffed. The San Angelo office was fully staffed with 12 forecast meteorologists. There were no vacancies. The San Antonio office was operating with 11 forecasters, and as Brian said, the union themselves said that there was adequate staffing. So I think those words speak for themselves, and the numbers speak for themselves. This was a once-in-a-century flash flood, a tragic natural disaster, and the administration is doing all that we can on the ground to help these families during this time of need. Jeff.
Thanks very much, Caroline. Just following up on Kristen's question, is it still the president's plan to phase FEMA out by the end of this year?
I just answered.
You see what they doing? Do you see it, bro? This is crazy, bro. I hate that lady, Chris. I hate her, bro. She's annoying, bro. This is what they do. You know, they gotta and look at it. Look at her face. She's just like, come on. You know what you're doing. It's corny. It is what it is. She knows it's coming, and this is why she's official, man, because she hits these people with facts, and she doesn't tolerate the bullshit. She's just gonna move on from because she knows what their agenda is, and that's just to try to make Trump look bad. But at the end of the day, she already gave the information. But what did she do? Spin the question because Elon and Trump is beefing. Or whatever. Does the cuts have something to do with? Are y'all worried about the FEMA cuts? And is that gonna, like I said, he's making cuts to FEMA and these different organizations, and they don't want to make cuts to these organizations because why? Because they be having the money train running through them, and now this is their reason to go out there with more protesters and more signs. Oh, don't let FEMA, keep FEMA, and people don't even understand, bro. It's crazy. This is hilarious.
Kristen's question for you.
One more, hold on, one more.
Sure, I'll give it to you. Go ahead.
The follow-up on trade as well. 12 more letters coming, you said. Can you give us a sense of which countries those are?
I'll let the president reveal those in very due time. Keep your eyes on Truth Social. Michael, in the back.
Thank you, Caroline. An armed shooter today was shot in McAllen, Texas, after opening fire on Border Patrol agents. Comes just days after Democratic Congresswoman Pramila Jayapal recently said she gets, quote, inspired when activists obstruct ICE. Does the White House expect Democrats to tone down their rhetoric in light of what we saw today in McAllen, Texas?
We certainly call on Democrats to tone down their rhetoric against ICE and Border Patrol agents who, again, are everyday men and women. I would encourage AOC and other Democrats to actually meet with the United States Border Patrol. These are honorable Americans who are just simply trying to do their job to enforce the law. They go home to their families every night just like we all do, and they deserve respect and dignity for trying to enforce our nation's immigration laws and to remove public safety threats from our communities. The White House is aware of the shooting that took place today in Texas, and we are working with the appropriate federal agencies to get to the bottom of what happened.
Caroline, the DOJ and FBI have now concluded there was no Jeffrey Epstein client list. What do you tell MAGA supporters who say they want anyone involved in Jeffrey Epstein's alleged crimes to be held accountable?
This administration wants anyone who has ever committed a crime to be held accountable, and I would argue this administration has done more to lock up bad guys than certainly the previous administration. And the Trump administration is committed to truth and to transparency. That's why the Attorney General and the FBI Director pledged at the President's direction to do an exhaustive review of all of the files related to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes and his death. And they put out a memo in conclusion of that review. There was material they did not release because, frankly, it was incredibly graphic and it contained child pornography, which is not something that's appropriate for public consumption. But they committed to an exhaustive investigation. That's what they did, and they provided the results of that. That's transparency.
Follow up on that,
Sure.
Karoline.
Like, I understand to a certain degree about because they said that they would, right? So there's people out here who have they want to know about Jeffrey Epstein and this whole situation. They want to know who was involved in this, that, and the third, right? But this the thing. Unfortunately, for example, what happened with Hillary Clinton? Remember, they were saying lock Hillary Clinton up. And she did things that Trump, I believe, that Trump could have went after her for when he became president. But he chose not to because of the stain it would leave on, America if he goes after a president's wife and a presidential candidate, right? So there's I'm not saying that people shouldn't get exposed. I think they should. I mean, look, they try to send him to jail, so I say it's fair game. But at the same time, it's got to get to a point, bro, honestly, where it's really bipartisanship, truthfully. Because when it's just literally us, just the division between Democrat and Republican and black and white and all of this stuff, it is what good does it do for America? It does no good at all. It's literally just division. And then you got people out here who don't know you from a can of paint, but hate you because you support Donald Trump or because you voted for Donald Trump. I believe that certain things should just be your view, your opinion, and leave it at that. It shouldn't be no hate. We shouldn't be able to not do business or do or work with each other or anything because we have different political views. You know what I mean? And unfortunately, when it comes to these videos, people do want to know this information. I believe, like she said, there was material in there that just wasn't made to be public. And who else? Who knows, man? Who knows, man? It's just, people are going to make their opinions regardless. And they'll say stuff like, oh, Trump didn't want to release it because he was in it, because Elon said it. Who knows? Who knows? We seen video with Trump and Epstein. You know what I mean? So does that mean that Trump did anything, that was crazy? We don't know. We don't know. And unfortunately, it's looking like we won't ever know. Unfortunately, but I think Epstein died allegedly, whatever, years ago. Come on. We talking, it's bigger issues that's going on in America than worrying about the whole Jeffrey Epstein situation. I think people should just get over it.
Okay, so the FBI looks at the circumstances surrounding the death of Jeffrey Epstein. According to the report, this systematic review revealed no incriminating client list. So what happened to the Epstein client list that the Attorney General said she had on her desk?
Well, I think if you go back and look at what the Attorney General said in that interview, which was on your network, on Fox News.
Got the quote.
Go ahead.
John Roberts said, DOJ may be releasing the list of Jeffrey Epstein's clients. Will that really happen? And she said, it's sitting on my desk right now to review.
Yes, she was saying the entirety of all of the paperwork, all of the paper in relation to Jeffrey Epstein's crimes. That's what the Attorney General was referring to, and I'll let her speak for that. But again, when it comes to the FBI and the Department of Justice, they are more than committed to ensuring that bad people are put behind bars. They have an operation going on right now called Summer Heat, which has our murder rate trending in the lowest direction in United States history. Their emphasis on violent crime and locking up violent criminals has led to the arrest of 14,000 violent criminals. That's a 62% increase from the same time period last year. So this Attorney General and the FBI Director are committed to putting bad people behind bars where they belong. They promised an exhaustive review. That's what they did. For any further details, I would refer you to the Department of Justice.
Thanks, Caroline. With Prime Minister Netanyahu visiting the White House today, yesterday the president said that he was working on a more permanent deal with Iran, but several days ago he didn't think one was necessary. What changed?
Well, when you asked me about this, or when you all asked me about this several weeks ago, I said the president thought maybe an Iran deal was not necessary, but of course the president is always interested in peace and diplomacy. That remains true, and the administration continues to be in contact, both directly and indirectly, with the Iranians on a deal.
And then on tariffs, you're now delaying the deadline from July 9th to August 1st. Is that an acknowledgement that perhaps the administration found it more difficult to negotiate these trade deals, or whatever happened to 90 deals in 90 days?
No, it's an acknowledgement that this administration is doing what's best for the American worker, and we want the best deals possible for our workers, for our manufacturing base, for our middle class, and they are doing this deliberately and appropriately on behalf of our country's interests. Josh.
All right, so listen, let's y'all want to check out the rest of that briefing, y'all can just Google Karoline Leavitt briefing today. That was from earlier today. But it's kind of, I kind of wanted her to go over the whole flood situation and just kind of show you the regular how these people frame these questions to try to make Trump look bad. Every question is literally, oh, well, he said this, and why isn't the deals done? And he said 90 days, and he said on day one he was going to do this. And it's like, come on, bro, stop. My whole thing is Donald Trump has did more in the, 6 months that, 6 months that he's been in office than Joe Biden did probably in his whole career. Seriously, like, what are we talking about? But anyway, let's get into this video right here.
Alrighty, guys. So Zohran Mamdani is up under a lot of heat for some things that have happened in the past. And there was an important question that was asked to Hakeem Jeffries, but he totally dodged answering the question. To me, I don't think it's fair. I think that people deserve to know the things 100%. I think that people deserve to get the answers 100%. Because what's the point in dodging the question? If you're new to the channel, do not forget to click the subscribe button so you don't miss none of the videos that I post. With that being said, let's hop into this video and let's see what this video is all about.
Welcome back. So Zohran Mamdani, the Democratic nominee for New York City mayor and the party's new poster boy, has a history of anti-Semitism, including this highly offensive video making fun of Hanukkah that he posted back in 2024.
Ew, bro.
What do you call that?
Hey, yo, bro.
Like, what do you call that right there? That makes zero. I ain't even about to get into it.
Yeah. Fox News reached out to Mamdani's campaign about the video, but has not heard back. And Mamdani's still catching heat for reportedly lying about his race on his college application. But that doesn't seem to bother the far left. They'll keep defending Mamdani, including House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
Wait, so what did he do? Just make sure we heard that correctly. Take a listen again.
For reportedly lying about the video, but has not heard back. And Mamdani's still catching heat for reportedly lying about his race on his college application.
What? All right, I'm sorry, guys. Why must one do something like this?
You know why he lied on his application? He lied on his application so he can get some of them benefits that black folks be getting, that free benefits. And you know why he lied on his application. And come on now.
Why?
But that doesn't seem to bother the far left. They'll keep defending Mamdani, including House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
Well, I understand why. I mean, look at what's been happening over these last few years, you know, telling the people one thing while another thing was happening, the people not knowing the truth, the people not knowing the things going on. I mean, look at the debate that happened with President Trump and former President Joe Biden. Before the debate, some were questioning, is former President Joe Biden health fine? Is it good? They were being told, yeah, everything's fine, everything's good. Debate happened. That night, a lot of questions arose because people are like, what is really going on?
Dodged the question last night.
New York City Mayor Eric Adams is attacking Mamdani over reports that he identified himself as African American and Asian on college application. I mean, is this a real issue to you?
I think to me, you know, the issue that we have to deal with in New York City, which our Democratic nominee did talk about extensively during the primary campaign, is affordability.
Okay, I think the question was asked for a yes or no response, not to be skipped across like the question wasn't asked.
Kaylee, I seem to think that Mamdani's appeal is much like Gavin Newsom's. It's almost aside from policy. It has to do with his persona, how he carries himself, how he looks. He has some charisma. We talked about this last night, actually. And then some of those policies that he's putting out there are very appealing to a younger audience. We were talking about that earlier. What are your thoughts on it?
I think the charisma is a big part of it, especially for young voters my age. I think his social media appeal was a big part of it. I do think that the talk of affordability was also a big deal for younger voters in New York who might be struggling. Of course, I think they lack the political and life experience to understand that the solutions that he's putting forward are nothing but empty promises. But what's notable is that you know who did see through that? Actual working class New Yorkers. If you look at the demographic breakdown of the primary election, it showed that black New Yorkers, Hispanic New Yorkers, New Yorkers making under $50,000, they did not vote for Mamdani. They voted for Andrew Cuomo because they see through socialism as...
I like how the voters see through things. And what do I mean by that exactly? Like, look at what happened with President Trump on the campaign trail.
So I just wanted to play that real quick just to show you, like, unfortunately, we live in a time where like if the left does anything, it's fine, it's cool, it's okay because they did it. You know, if anybody in the Republican Party, and I want to remind you, I'm not Republican, I'm not Democrat, I'm independent. I'm an independent thinker. I think for myself. When I look at this dude, first of all, he's a politician. To even be having videos that you can put out like that of you, and you want people to take you serious in this political arena, right? In one of the biggest cities in America, like, are you serious? And then on top of that, you lying about your race. Come on, bro. And I guarantee you, it had nothing to do with anything political. He said he lied on his college application, which means he used the whole black card, you know, to take advantage of these, you know, DEI programs that colleges have to offer. I've heard people do that before, you know, and it's so crazy. You see Al Sharpton and Hakeem Jeffries, the Timo Obama, he literally skipped right over the question because that's what they do. They want to say, no, don't focus on it. Don't focus on that. Let's focus on what he was talking about affordability, about giving free money away to everybody. We don't need to focus on the fact that he be lying on his applications. You know, we don't need to focus on the fact that he be lying. You know, and he making all these empty promises to people like every other Democrat. We don't need to focus on that, people. Come on, focus on his charisma. Focus on what he be saying, not what he be doing. Like, what? Focus on your feelings. Anyway, let's get into this last video with my guy, the one and only Victor David Hanson, talking about this whole Elon and Trump beef a little bit, and also talking about this new Elon American party. He's trying to make his own party, a third party, and is going to get into, I believe, Trump's response to it and whatnot. I just want to give a quick opinion on it. It's kind of blowing my shit that him and Elon is going through this whole feud, because it's like, come on, dog. Y'all was doing so good, man. What the fuck? Like, what happened? You know, Trump says he's mad about the whole EV mandate situation, but he had, my whole thing is, I feel like it's something deeper than that a little bit. I just don't think Trump is trying to put it out there, because he had to know that Trump wasn't going to do the EV mandate thing. He said it. He said he was going to end he called it he called it, what did he call it? I forget what he called it, but he said it was a scam. He said it was a whole scam. He said he said that. So I can't, in my mind, I'm like, he can't be mad about that. You know what I mean? He can't be. It's got to be something else. So I don't know, man. It's blowing my shit.
The friendship between Elon Musk and Donald Trump has been ruptured. They're not just frenemies, but they're kind of hostiles. This is a tragedy because we have the world's richest and probably most creative man versus one of the most successful politicians of the 20th and 21st centuries, Donald Trump, and they should be working together. But now Elon Musk, in his anger, has decided to create a new party called the American Party. It's very Republican. It's almost identical to the Libertarian Party, and it's designed, I'm afraid, to lose seats for the Republicans. A word of caution, all of us know the history of third-party movements, and it's not very good. America is going through a higher education transformation where students are realizing that what they want and need is a place that doesn't stifle their intellectual freedom. Standing out U/Daily Signal. Hello, this is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily Signal. Elon Musk, as we all know now, has had a rupture. The friendship between himself and Donald Trump has been ruptured. Now they're not just frenemies, but they're kind of hostiles, and they're going back and forth against each other. This is a tragedy because we have the world's richest and probably most creative man versus one of the most successful politicians of the 20th and 21st centuries, Donald Trump, and wonderful president so far, and they should be working together. But now Elon Musk, in his anger, has decided to create a new party called the American Party. And he outlined the platform, and whether it's on regulation, taxes, tariffs, free speech, it's very Republican. It's not close at all to the Democratic platform, but it's really it's almost identical to the Libertarian Party. And it's designed, I'm afraid, to lose seats for the Republicans in the 2026 midterm elections, and maybe even, if he were to be successful, in the 2028 presidential election. A word of caution, all of us know the history of third-party movements, and it's not very good, and I'll get to that in a second. So it would be logical and probably wise to say that, well, this is crazy. Elon Musk is just nursing a grudge. He's going to spend a lot of money, and the American Party is going to go nowhere. After, remember the name American Party? It's kind of reminiscent. I don't know if that was intended. Of course, it wasn't. But in 1968, George Wallace and Curtis LeMay, one of my heroes, the head of the B-29 program in World War II, ran as a third party on the American Independent Party. They added independent, but that was an American party. Third party, they got about 8% of the vote. A lot of people think that 68 vote, because he was a Democrat, hurt Hubert Humphrey more than it did Richard Nixon. It might have swung the election. So it's kind of an effort to hurt Donald Trump, both in the Congress and his successor in 4 years. But here's the question that I have for Elon Musk, and that is, does he really believe that he can pull this off? Apparently he does. I would like to say, as I said, that it's impossible that he can do it. But I would also have said 10 years ago, it's impossible that anybody can break into the big three auto companies. We had American Motors dropped out. Remember the DeLorean automobile? And I think that was the 70s. That didn't make it. He did. Tesla still has the highest stock value of the big three. I would have thought no one could ever challenge NASA, that government monopoly. He did. I thought, wow, he paid so much for Twitter. How could you can't just rebrand it X and after paying 3 times its market value be a force? Would it work? He did it. I don't need to get into Starlink. So everything he's done is successful. So people should be very careful about writing a third-party movement off. But that being said, let's just look at similar cases in history. In 1980, John Anderson, a moderate Republican, didn't get along with Ronald Reagan. He said he was going to run as a third party. Remember that Reagan, until about the last 3 weeks of the campaign, was running behind Jimmy Carter. And everybody said, John Anderson, if he takes 6 or 7, which he did, % of the vote, Reagan will lose. Reagan won. And remember, there you go again, Jimmy Carter, in that one very dramatic debate. I mentioned the 1968 George Wallace campaign. I think that may have hurt Humphrey. And then some of you were going to say, well, wait a minute, Victor. George Wallace politically was closer to Richard Nixon than he was Hubert Humphrey. So that's a wash. If you look at the 2 third-party runs by Ross Perot, remember 1992? He really had a grudge against the Bushes. He ran, and he got almost 19% of the vote. And if you look at the margin that Bill Clinton won by, about 8 or 9 points, that did hurt George H.W. Bush. I do think that most people felt that Ross Perot was more conservative than liberal and closer to the Bush position than he was the Clinton. And that third-party effort in 92 spoiled the re-election bid of George H.W. Bush in large part. He did it again in 1996. Everybody writes that second attempt off him. He pulled out. He was all over the map. He still won almost 9% of the vote. And if you add up all of Bob Dole's votes, popular votes, and Ross Perot's, and I think he was much closer to Bob Dole than he was to Bill Clinton, who was running for re-election, it's almost equal to the Clinton vote. May or may not have a role. Strom Thurmond, he won 4 states as a Dixiecrat in 1948 election. And boy, everybody said that Harry Truman was running well behind Thomas Dewey. And if Strom Thurmond bolted the party, they were done for. He took 4 states, won those electoral votes. Harry Truman still in a comeback surprise, won by over 4 points. It had no effect. There's 2 times I think we could finish by saying third parties did really matter. And one was in 1912. Teddy Roosevelt had taken over after the assassination of William McKinley. He'd finished out a first full term. It was a second term. He wanted to run again. And his appointed successor, the person that he endorsed, William Howard Taft, he felt was not progressive enough. So he ran against him, and he had a third party, not the American Party, but the Bull Moose Party. And what happened? He won 27% of the vote. William Howard Taft I think he got he only won 6 states, and he only won 23%. But here's the kicker. If you had put Teddy Roosevelt's votes with William Howard Taft, they would have creamed Woodrow Wilson, who was a hard left progressive. So that was a spoiler election. The other one was a famous one in 1860 when Stephen Douglas, who had those famous debates in the senatorial race in Illinois against Abraham Lincoln, was the Democratic nominee against Abraham Lincoln. John Breckinridge broke off from the Democratic Party and had a Southern Democratic Party. And he took enough votes away from Stephen Douglas that got Abraham Lincoln elected president with only thank God, but only 40% of the vote. What am I getting at is there is no record ever that a third-party candidate can win the presidency or will make a fundamental change in the makeup of the Senate. Or the House. I don't think in the next midterm election there's going to be American Party senators or representatives. However, they do in some cases affect elections. And for the most part, it's unpredictable. Nobody knows what the situation will be in 2028. But Elon Musk must know that it won't be a constructive role, that he is more akin to Donald Trump and the conservative movement than he is the people who have persecuted him and tried to put him out of business. So let's hope that he looks at history, comes to his senses, and says, for all my disagreements with Donald Trump, they pale in comparison to what has become of the Democratic Party. Thank you very much. This is Victor Davis Hanson for the Daily.
So I believe that he's like 100% correct though. And honestly, yo, I could really see Elon Musk being petty like that though. Just to be able to affect the election. You know what I mean? I don't even think he thinks that like they'll actually win, you know? That's the crazy part. Like I think he's just doing it just to cause, just to cause bullshit with with everything, you know? But real quick before we end, I want to just give you guys Trump's response to real quick, give me a second. Pull that down. There we go. Should be good. Hold up. Let me see. Why isn't... Hold on, let me pause this real quick. And that's on... My bad, people.
Media from the president on Truth Social saying, quote, I'm saddened to watch Elon Musk go completely off the rails, essentially becoming a train wreck over the past 5 weeks. He even wants to start a third political party, despite the fact that they have never succeeded in the United States. The system seems not designed for them. The one thing third parties are good for is the creation of complete and total disruption and chaos. And we have enough of that with the radical left Democrats who have lost their confidence and their minds. Republicans, on the other hand, are a smooth running machine, just passed the biggest bill of its kind in the history of our country. It's a great bill, but unfortunately for Elon, it eliminates that ridiculous electric vehicle mandate, which would be forced everyone to buy an electric car in a short period of time. I've been strongly opposed to that from the very beginning. People are now allowed to buy whatever they want, gasoline-powered hybrids or new technologies as they come about. No more EV mandates. I have campaigned on this for 2 years, and quite honestly, when Elon gave me his total and unquestioned endorsement, I asked him whether or not he knew that I was going to terminate the EV mandate. It was in every speech I made and every conversation I had. He said he had no problems with that. I was very surprised. Additionally, Elon asked that one of his close friends run NASA, and while I thought his friend was very good, I was surprised to learn that he'd be a blue-blooded Democrat who had never contributed to a Republican before. Elon probably was also inappropriate that a close friend of Elon who was in the space business run NASA when NASA is such a big part of Elon's corporate life. My number one charge is to protect the American public. So that, again, on social media from President Trump calling what Elon Musk has desired to start a third party as ridiculous. A live look right there in Washington, D.C. at the White House as we saw Elon Musk time and time again speak during the campaign of President Trump during his run for the White House a second time. And it's not clear if Elon Musk will follow through with the party in the wake of his announcement, but the move comes as the men launched into a back and forth for the second time in a matter of months as Republicans in Congress, they worked to pass the mega bill, and ultimately they did. President Trump also commented about this new desire endeavor from Elon Musk about the third party in the United States on the tarmac on his way back to Washington, D.C. Let's listen in to these comments from the president.
Starting a third party. I think it's ridiculous to start a third party. We have a tremendous success with the Republican Party. The Democrats have lost their way, but it's always been a two-party system. And I think starting a third party just adds to confusion. It really seems to have been developed for two parties. Third parties have never worked. So he can have fun with it, but I think it's ridiculous.
All right, that was.
All right, man. So that was Trump's response to this whole Elon Musk thing, and literally that's what I said. He literally said it damn near at every rally. You know, this is the first time that I actually watch rallies and things like that on both sides. I wasn't just watching Donald Trump's because I was going to vote for him. I watched some of the ridiculous DNC shit that they did, with the abortions out front and stuff like that. In case you didn't know, they was having abortions out front of the DNC when they was having all of them Project 2025 speeches, and it just, so that's why I'm saying, like, I don't see it. I don't see that that's the reason why, so I feel like it's something else. It's got to be, man. If not, then that's it. Then I think that's crazy because he was totally transparent about it. So actually, beefing with Donald Trump at this point about the EV mandate, when he literally was saying, like he said, for over 2 years, I would say, I was watching less than that, but he'd been saying at every rally that he was going to end the EV mandate. He said that. So that's weird, man. But I really, really, because like Victor David Hanson said, it does nothing but really takes away from one of the parties. So is Elon being petty and it's like, I'm going to start my own? He has the money to do it. So he can do it for sure. But is he going to get far with it? I don't know. And just like Victor said, his party is literally identical to the Republican Party. So why not just do what you've been doing? I don't understand it. Like, you're ultra rich. I don't see, like, if any, just like they had when they was trying to say Donald Trump was the one who gave him the $400 million contract to make Tesla tanks or some shit like that. If things like that come about if technology like that is being used, then the government is going to go to Elon Musk. So I don't see, obviously doing an EV mandate where everybody in the United States have to buy electric cars would definitely benefit them crazy. But at the end of the day, man, people, listen, this the whole thing of free speech, free everything. Motherfuckers got the free will. If you want to buy a Tesla, buy a Tesla. If you want to buy a gas car, buy a gas car, whatever. To make it to where, just like vaccines, and make it mandatory for people to take vaccinations in order to go to school is ridiculous. The same thing with the EV mandate, to make it, because it's all a lie anyway. All this climate change shit is all bullshit. I'm not sitting there saying that, certain products and certain materials don't affect cause pollution, but come on, they be taking this shit far because they want to put regulations on everything, and they want to be able to just put money to be able to take money from every company, every which way. Man, you can't do anything without paying somebody for something. You can't drive a car. You can't you got to have insurance. You got to have a license. You got to have a registration. You got to have all of this shit in order to just live. You know what I mean? So it's kind of crazy, to be honest, when you really think about it, man. But listen, man, I hope the video was good, man. I hope y'all fuck with it. And if y'all fuck with your boy, please do me a big favor. Hit that subscribe button. Make sure y'all like the video. Also, comment down below and hit that notification button so you can get notified every time your boy SL550 drop a new video. This is the N.G.L.A. podcast. Until next time, I'm out.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams. I know niggas who played ball and gave it up for lean.
Millionaire thoughts, billionaire dreams, but my account in overdraft, I'm about to scream.
Rich man greed,
a poor man prayers.
Every man bleeds,
but look how God made us.
Too many losses, it's only right that we win. Yeah, I made a promise I'm never gonna lose again.